My silence could grant life. My words could condemn someone to death. My adoptive father loved to drink. Whenever he got drunk, he beat me with his belt until I could barely stand. One night, after another beating, I stared at him and said, "You broke my bones. I'll make you wither." The old compressor beside him suddenly roared to life. A second later, he collapsed. My adoptive mother loved showing off. She once stole a thick gold bracelet and framed me for it. After slapping me until my mouth bled, she screamed that I was a thief. I looked at her and said, "You used those hands to hit me. Then you can lose the use of them." She suddenly cried out and clutched both hands, her fingers locking painfully in place. That was when I understood what I was. Every curse I spoke came true, so I stopped speaking. I pretended to be mute for years, until half a year ago, when my biological parents finally found me and brought me back to the city. For the first time in my life, I had a real family, and I was terrified that one careless sentence from me could destroy it. That was why I kept my mouth shut even when my younger adoptive brother, Evan Lowe, suddenly rushed toward me with a glass of water in his hand, clutching his throat and retching. His face was pale. His voice trembled. "Edwin, I know you hate me, but why did you put bleach in my water? It could burn through someone's stomach. You could have killed me." Mom ran over and slapped me. "You ungrateful little brat. You actually tried to kill Evan?" Dad kicked me to the floor. "So this is what you learned growing up in the middle of nowhere? Jealousy and cruelty? Get on your knees and apologize." I stayed on the floor and looked at Evan. Behind Mom's shoulder, the corner of his mouth curled into a smug smile. Fine. I clenched my teeth. If they wanted me to kneel and speak so badly, maybe I should finally give them what they wanted. I lifted my eyes to Evan and slowly opened my mouth. "Edwin, if you really didn't want me to go, you could have just said so. Why did you put that stuff in my water?" Evan trembled as he spoke, crying so hard he could barely breathe. "Mom, Dad, if Edwin can't stand having me around, then I won't go on the trip. I don't want to make him uncomfortable." The more pitiful he looked, the more heartbroken Mom became. She grabbed a bottle of disinfectant from the cabinet and hurled it at me. "Look how considerate Evan is. Then look at you. How did I give birth to someone this cruel?" The plastic bottle struck my cheek, my mouth filled with the metallic taste of blood. I still said nothing. Whenever I opened my cursed mouth, someone paid the price. And during the 6 months since I returned to the Lowe family, these people had treated me better than anyone ever had. I was always cold, so Mom knitted sweaters for me herself and piled extra blankets on my bed. Whenever Dad came home from work, he brought me a warm cinnamon roll from the bakery around the corner and told me it had been my favorite when I was little. Even Sharon, my sharp-tempered older sister, had quietly slipped me a bank card on payday. "Use it if you need anything." I had waited my whole life for this kind of affection. I was afraid one angry sentence would take it all away, so I stayed silent. Sharon came out of the bathroom, snatched the train ticket from my hand, and tore it in half. "Evan can barely bring himself to step on an ant, and you tried to poison him with disinfectant?" She threw the pieces at my face. "If you can't stand seeing anyone else happy, then stay home this weekend. You're not going anywhere." She turned to Mom and Dad. "Change the bookings. We'll take Evan with us and leave him here to think about what he did." Dad grabbed my arm and shoved me into the spare bedroom, then locked the door from the outside. "No one gives him food without my permission. A few days alone might finally teach him something." Their voices faded down the hallway. A few minutes later, I heard the front door close. I sat down on the cold floor of the windowless room. They were taking the family trip without me, and I still refused to speak. There was half a jug of bottled water in the room and nothing else. By the second day, my stomach cramped with hunger. By the third, I was surviving on water and whatever sleep I could get. My phone kept lighting up with the family's vacation posts.